Hello everyone. So good to be back. So, my name is Sylvia. I'm from Horizon Mental Health Clinic. I'm psychotherapist and author of my books. Grow into Your Happiness and The Secret Codes to Happiness. Last week we were talking about anxiety and how anxiety can impact your life, but I also was talking about how can you try to manage your own anxiety. So I was giving you some tips on how to manage your anxiety. Today we will be talking about anxiety, but from a different perspective. Today I want you to look at the fear of rejection along with anxiety. So we'll get there. But before we get there, let me tell a little bit more about myself, because from my last life I got so many messages asking what is my services, what do I do, who am I. So as I said, I'm a psychotherapist and I'm a founder of Horizon Mental Health Clinic in Limerick City. What do? I empower people. In a very short sentence, that's what I do. I empower people. I show you that you can get your life back. What do I deal with? Different kind of issues. So like anxiety, OCD, depression, suicidal ideation, self-harm, anger management, trauma, sexual abuse, all of that I deal with this. We deal with therapists in here that I have in Horizon. We work with those type of things. So that's all in a very nutshell about me and what do I do. So let's go back to anxiety and the fear of rejection. So how many of you are afraid of being rejected? How many of you feel like that you can't do something because deep down you're afraid, oh, maybe they won't like it, maybe they will judge me, they might make a comment that won't be pleasant, and those things that we are creating in our mind will stop us from actually being and doing the things that we would like to do. But because of the fear of rejection, we're like, no, we're not gonna do it because it gets too much. Because we don't want to be judged, we don't want to be criticized, we don't want to be seen and visible, we don't want to be exposed and be actually, vulnerable, because being exposed, it also means that you are somehow vulnerable, and we tend to avoid that. We tend to avoid coming out of our comfort zone and making ourselves out there. So why the fear of rejection is so important to not maybe get rid of it completely, but try to overcome it. Why is it so important for us as human beings, as people who have dreams, to overcome the fear of rejection? It's because it stops us from being who we really are. When we are so afraid of, being rejected, that will stop us from being who we really are and who we really can be. It's like we lock in our potential in ourselves. We don't show that to anybody, and then we're kind of locking our happiness, we're locking ourselves, and we feel like we're some kind of limbo. We don't feel alive. And that is why, because what if they will judge us? So my ego will then be miserable, won't be happy, and I will be given out to myself. That's all ego. Ego will always want you to be safe, feel safe, be comfortable, be nice and peace. That's ego's job. What would happen if you would actually acknowledge that, acknowledge your fears, acknowledge your fear of rejection, and then go much more deeper inside you? Something that deep that is telling you your desires, your dreams. Those are not coming from your ego. They're coming from something much higher, but something much higher that you have inside you. It's nothing from external, it comes from within. So if you're not listening to your heart, if you're not listening to your soul, but you're listening to your ego, the very surface of your psyche, you will never reach your potential. You will never get to the self. So ask yourself now, what is more scary? Being judged by somebody, or not reaching your highest potential, not reaching your dreams or desires? What is more scary? For me, definitely it will be more scary not to reach myself. And another thing when it comes to rejection, another thing that comes with the fear of being rejected is that stop yourself for a second and now ask yourself, how do you see yourself? Are you rejecting yourself? Are you judging yourself first? Like, are those fears coming from you? Very often what happens is that before we actually get any judgment from anyone, that judgment, we already put that on us. So before someone judges us, we are judging ourselves first, and then we projecting our own judgment onto somebody else's, because again the ego is like throwing that away. Oh no, like I could not think of me like this, I could not do this. So really our fear of rejection is our own fear of being judged, but really we are judging ourselves by ourselves. We are rejecting ourselves. We are not accepting who we are. We are too afraid to make that first step and go out of the comfort zone because we are too much caught up in our heads. We are too much listening to our ego rather than listening to our hearts. Having said that, I will give you an example, and that example will be myself today. Before I was going live, I always said I would be doing lives on Mondays, which I couldn't do it yesterday because I was away and I just wasn't available. But for today, I was tired and I didn't really want to do it. But then I had to remind myself, am I listening to my ego? Or am I listening to my higher self? Am I committed to my work, to what I do? Am I committed to people that are actually waiting for me? Or am I committed more to my ego and my comfort zone? Once I knew the answer, what I exactly was doing and where was I made myself hot chocolate, and here I am. Here I am. I am here talking to you because I was able to catch myself and ask myself, what am I? Where am I? Am I in my ego or am I in my higher self? What part am I listening to? Anymore. Okay. So ego isn't a bad thing. Like, we need ego. We need healthy ego. But also, having said that, we need to be able to make decisions that are coming from our higher self, that are coming from something much bigger than our logic can grasp. And that is ourselves, and that is our dreams. That's where our dreams are coming from ourselves. It's not coming from, like, nothing is being created ever from the ego level. We need to go into unknown. We need to go into the uncomfortableness. Like, we need to go there in order to get to know ourselves. But before we go there, we need to leave the fear of being rejected, the fear of being judged or being too visible, it's not such a thing as being too much, like, you are who you are, and you should be okay with owning yourself. Like, you should be okay with knowing who you are, and be okay with that. Accept yourself. Don't try to fit in so much somewhere. Just fit in with yourself. Like, accept who you are. Accept yourself. Once you can do that, you will see the fear of rejection, it will be there, but it won't be as important. It won't stop you from what you want or from what you want to do. Like, you can be you. And all what you have to do is accept yourself. Accept who you are today. Stop wishing for something that you wish to have, but you don't have it right now. Because when you do that, you're just creating lack in your life. When you say, oh, I wish I was this person, I wish I had that, I wish... Wait a second. You're losing connection with yourself when you do that. How about now? How about what you have now? How about who you are today? Where's that? Are you owning yourself? Are you owning that part of you? If you are rejecting yourself, if you're not accepting yourself, how somebody else supposed to do that for you? Come back to yourself. That's where the power lies. That's where your strength is, within yourself. You don't need external things to prove that you are worthy of something. You don't need external situations or people to tell you how much you're worth. Like, you don't need that. You're worthy, full stop. That's it. But if you want to accept yourself, you will never feel that. If you want to show yourself a little bit of acceptance and compassion and kindness, it will be very hard for you not to be fearful, not to feel anxious, not to be somewhere else but your head. Like, you'll be trying to figure out what other people think of you rather than concentrating on yourself, and rather than concentrating on who you are. Because that's what we tend to do, and we are so much in the fear, and when we are so much in our heads, then somehow we try to figure out somebody else's head. Like, what are they thinking of us? What is in there going on? Like, in their heads. What they might think of us. Like, you have one mind. That's enough to manage. You don't need to manage everybody else's minds. Like, drop that. You don't need to manage, control, or figure out somebody else's thoughts. You are enough. Your mind is enough. Believe me. There's a lot to manage. So don't try to be somewhere where you don't have to be. Another thing is that very often we believe that we will be feeling this way, we will be feeling that way if we have something. And it's almost like we wish our life away. Oh, I wish this, I wish that. And we're losing connection, as I said, with ourselves, with the present moment, with who we are. And nothing is really created, or nothing is really expanded your own potential if you're not really connected with yourself. But where I'm trying to go with that is, how about if you would stop trying to be or to prove something to everybody else? What if you would just be ordinary person, but feeling extraordinary about yourself? How does that sound? You see, what I mean by that, it's not about, when I say being ordinary person, it means just treat everybody on the same level as you are. Don't have anybody on a pedestal, but yet don't you put yourself on the pedestal thinking that you're better than other people. That's not the case either. We are all equal. We're all human beings. We're all important. We all have feelings. We all have our own lives, our own journey to go by. But that makes us quite ordinary, doesn't it? Like, when we are thinking of everybody equally, and if we're thinking of everyone the same, that makes us quite ordinary. And that is amazing. Because being ordinary, you can still feel extraordinary. Because you can be happy, you can be full of acceptance to other people, to yourself. You can just be so much. And when you are so much, you can give so much more. And you can be so much more. So, rather than be or try to prove somebody something, just come back to yourself. Try to connect with yourself. Try to connect who you are. Because, believe me, you are enough. The way you are, the way you feel. Self-care, number one. So, coming back to the fear of rejection, what purpose does that have if you would actually accept yourself? What would it actually mean if someone did really judge you? If someone did reject you somehow? Whatever you did and someone maybe criticized what you did, or how would that matter if you would accept yourself? You wouldn't have so much power, wouldn't it? You see, that itself shows you how much power you actually hold within you. That shows you who you can really be. Without being afraid, without stopping yourself, without overthinking things, without trying to be someone you're not. Just be you. And that's enough. That's all what it takes. Just be, allow yourself to be you. Allow yourself to become who you really want to be.